This has got to be one of the most open championship playoff races we've ever seen. Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Yesterday we focused on Burnley and Sheffield United in a video saying how anyone making the top two other than those two in the championship this year will be a bit of a pipe dream at the moment considering the gap they've opened up. But when you just look at the top six, it looks like anyone in the division could actually make it because it is so tight and so congested. Before we get into this video guys, do make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and we're going to go through each of the championship teams. Before we get into each team though guys, I've been looking at the history of the championship and what you need on average to secure just about 6th place, and if you look at the table this season as well, West Brom, who currently sits 6th, with their points to game ratio are projecting around 69.9 points per game. Yes, we can take into account West Bromwich Albion are flying up the table, but if you just look at that baseline for 6th place, that projects about 69 to 70 points will get you 6th place. Bearing in mind things might spread out through the season, I've set an estimate that 71 points will just be enough to get you 6th place this season. So let's have a look at the teams and what they'd require just to get 71 points, which should just secure you 6th place. Let's quickly start with Burnley and Sheffield United. It's not really worth mentioning, but Burnley only need 12 more points to secure just a top 6 finish, which is 0.6 points per game, so they don't need to worry about that. They're more concerned about wrapping up the top 2. Burnley would have to do so bad now not to make the top 6. It'd have to be one of the worst runs we've ever seen in the Championship. Sheffield United, pretty similar. They only require 17 points, which is less points than they've got games left, so they are looking at 0.9 points per game just to cement top 6 as well, so I don't think they need to worry themselves about that. For those two teams, automatic promotion is the goal, of course. Let's look at the team just below them in 3rd place, which is Watford. Watford need to get 28 points from their final 19 games to get to 71 points, which, as I say, should get you 6th place this season. So there is still a bit of work to do for Watford. That is 8 wins and 4 draws from the final 19. We're looking at 1.47 points per game. So obviously at the moment, after the top 2, Watford are in the best position to secure a top 6. If they do go on a really good run, they could be that team to possibly threaten the top 2. But I think Watford are probably going to be the team to finish 3rd or 4th if they keep going the way they are. They've won their last 2 games, so they do look pretty good in that top 6 conversation. But we all know a couple of defeats and the picture does really change. In 4th place you find Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough are on 42 points. They require 29 points from their final 19 to get them to 71 points, as I say, which should be enough for just the top 6. Their current rate is really good. They do look like they're going to be in the top 6 quite comfortably, probably going to be in that top 4, I will say, the higher ends of the playoffs. What they do need to do from now on in then, just to secure a top 6 place, is 1.5 points per game, which is equivalent to 8 wins and 5 draws from their final 19. The way they're going, that shouldn't be a problem. 5th place, Blackburn Rovers, similar to Middlesbrough, 42 points with 19 games to go. They require 29 once again. Blackburn's form isn't as good as Middlesbrough's over the recent stretch of time, but once again they require just 1.5 points per game, and if they keep winning, losing, that will get you 1.5 points a game. So as I said, for Middlesbrough, 8 wins and 5 draws. In Blackburn's language, that'd be 9 wins and 2 draws, because I know Blackburn don't draw any game. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they could get 2 draws between now and the end of the season. So once again, Blackburn are in a pretty strong position, but are they going to be capable of keeping up that good form for the final 19 games? In 6th place, you've got West Bromwich Albion, who are really moving up the table like a tank at the moment. They require 30 points. They're 1 point below Middlesbrough and Blackburn, but their form is better than Blackburn's at the moment. So they require 1.57 points per game, which is equivalent to 8 wins and 6 draws from their final 19, or 9 wins and 3 draws. And the way they're currently going, West Bromwich Albion do look like they could do that quite comfortably at the moment. So let's come on to the teams just outside the playoffs at the moment. We start with 7th place Norwich City, who are on 39 points from 27. They've got 19 games to go and they require 1.68 points per game from those final 19 to secure just 6th place. That is equivalent to 9 wins and 5 draws. Are Norwich capable of that? Yes, but the way they've been playing this season, they've left themselves with quite a bit of work to do with that poor start to the season, but that 4-0 win away at Preston does certainly seem to be a confidence booster. It should give them confidence to think that they could be able to get in there at the end of the season. We'll come on to 8th and 9th at the same time, Millwall and Luton Town, with very, very similar stats here. I mean, they've got the same points and the same games played, because they have got a game in hand on the whole of that top 7, and that is against each other. How big a game that could be when Millwall do play Luton. They both are on the same points as Norwich, but their points per game required is less because they've got an extra game in hand. So they both require 1.6 points per game to get them just into 6th place, which is equivalent to 9 wins and 5 draws. I do think there's a very strong chance one of these two will get in there at the end of the season. If they win that game in hand currently, it would actually put them in the top 6. Let's come on to 10th and 11th, Sunderland and Swansea, who are both on 38 points from 27 games played, so they both require 1.73 points per game, which is 9 wins and 6 draws in their final 19. They did just play at the weekend, Swansea coming out 3-1 winners at Sunderland. Both of these two have caught my eye for the right reasons this season, and if they can both be sniffing around the playoffs with the final 5 games to go, then who's to say they won't get in there? I think both these two have a decent chance as well. Next up, we'll come on to Queen's Park Rangers, Preston and Reading all together, because they've all got the same points from the same amount of games played as well. These 3 teams all require 1.78 points per game to get into 6th place currently, and that is equivalent to 10 wins and 4 draws from the final 19. So we're getting to the point where you'd have to go on a very good run. It's not quite 2 points per game, but Queen's Park Rangers, Reading and Preston do seem capable teams. They've been flirting around the playoffs for quite a bit of this season, so if one of these 3 can put a good run together, I could certainly see one of them getting in there at the end. In 15th place is my team Coventry City, who currently sit 6 points off that top 6 now, with an inferior goal difference on 6th place West Brom as well. But we do have 1 game in hand on quite a few of the teams now, so if we can really put that game in hand to advantage, get 3 points there, then it does narrow the gap a bit. We have got some tricky games out the way with Burnley away. We've got Norwich at home coming up, but like I said, there's some big winnable games coming for Coventry. Really need to get back to winning ways, because the form since the World Cup has not been great. We currently require 1.8 points per game, so from our final 20 games we're talking about 10 wins and 6 draws, and that'd only leave room for about 4 defeats. So Coventry City do really need to start turning things around quickly, otherwise we're going to get to a point where it's very unrealistic. Next up, 16th place Hull City, who are actually in pretty good form at the moment, and if they were to somehow make the top 6, then that would be one of the stories of Championship history, because they currently sit on 34 points and require 37 points from their final 19 to get 6th place, which we're talking 1.94 points per game, which would be 11 wins, 4 draws and 4 defeats from that final 19. It's a tall ask. They are currently in good form under Rosenia, and I think realistically if Hull can just get into that top half by the end of the season, that'd be great to push on for next season. But we will say it's not impossible Hull City could actually make the top 6 this year. The final team we'll mention are Bristol City, who currently sit in 17th place with 32 points with 19 games to go. Birmingham City also sit on the same amount of points, but Birmingham's form is actually quite poor at the moment. Bristol City require 39 points from 19 games to get into 6th place. So Bristol City would require 2 points per game for the rest of the season just to get into 6th place. It's not impossible, but we're talking about 12 wins, 3 draws, and that'd leave room for 4 defeats. So a real big ask there for Bristol City, but it's worth mentioning them because it's not impossible. So then guys, that wraps up the Championship top 6 breakdown. Like I say, it does stretch quite far down the division, this playoff race, and I wonder how many teams realistically think they're actually in this conversation. Do let me know your thoughts down below. If you support one of these many teams, then get your predictions down below for where your team's going to finish. Who knows? Do make sure to drop a like, and do make sure to hit that red subscribe button. I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.